Hello, everyone, and welcome to MediaMelt, the show where we talk about the media that is supposed to melt our minds, or in the very least, tries to. I am, of course, your host, Dylan Strickland, and today, let's talk about Denis Villeneuve's new film, Dune. Here with me, almost as always, is Kirby Telesky. How are you doing, Kirby?
Oh, I'm tired. I'm so tired.
That's good. I'm very tired as well. Also here is a new guest, actor and sci-fi fan, and one of my good friends, Troy Freeman, is here. How you doing, Troy?
I'm good. I'm holding up.
That's good. That's good. That's great. Good to hear. Just going to give you guys a breakdown of how the show is going to go today. We are going to talk about the original Dune by, oh my God, how am I forgetting this director's name right now? What's the director of the original Dune's name? I know his name so well.
David Lynch.
David Lynch, thank you.
David
Oh my
Lynch.
God, I forgot David Lynch's name. Okay, the original director of Dune 1984. We're going to talk about David Lynch's Dune from 1984. I know they're not connected, but just for shits and giggles, let's talk about it. And then, and before we get into Dune, but those will both be time-stamped in the description, so you can skip around and listen to whatever you'd like to if you want to. Also, want to remind you guys, we are on your podcasting app of choice, and don't forget to like and subscribe. But let's start with Troy, and only Troy, because Kirby didn't watch it.
Listen, this is one of the few times I haven't watched one of the things. Okay,
Troy,
and from the sound of it, I didn't miss out, I didn't miss out on much.
Troy, what did you think of Dune 1984?
Dune 1984 is a complicated, featuring a lot of complicated people at really high points of their career. There were a lot of really good things going for this movie. I don't know if you've seen a lot of David Lynch movies, but he's probably one of the greatest auteur directors.
He did was it Fincher that did? It might have been David Fincher that did the one from 2018 or 19.
Yeah, he's not active anymore.
Okay. Oh.
Not really. He's real
fucking dead. Okay.
He's not dead. But,
okay.
yeah, the last movie he did was 2006.
Okay, gotcha.
He did Eraserhead, was his big movie.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So there's a lot of people in this movie that are really famous. In a lot of ways, it kind of parallels this one. David Lynch is an auteur director. They had Kyle MacLachlan, who was huge at the height of his career. Patrick Stewart's in it. Sting is in it. Like, they got a stacked cast.
Sting is in it?
Sting is in it.
Like the wrestler Sting?
No.
The singer from the Police.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, Sting the wrestler? Okay. Sting the singer. That makes a lot more sense.
And unfortunately, as far as I'm concerned, everything goes wrong with the movie. So much so that David Lynch asked to not be credited as the director.
Really?
He wrote the screenplay. He directed the movie. I think that there were budget issues. I think production was rushed, and you can kind of tell. There was several times throughout the movie that I was like, really, that's the only take you had?
I think I kind of liked it.
What did you like about it?
Like, actually liked it. Like, I think I actually kind of enjoyed it because, like, I mean, Kirby's shitting on it. He hasn't seen it yet, but it's clear that I don't think Troy very much enjoyed it. I think you think it's a monster, right, of a film.
I think in 1977, Star Wars worked,
Mm-hmm.
and by 1984, everyone other than the people at LucasArts still didn't know why. So, to me, they were trying to make Dune an episode of Star Trek.
That's one of my notes right here. I said the very first note I took is it's very Star Trek-like. Like, it feels like I'm watching the original series, like, unfold, but like the motion picture original series, not like the original series.
Right, and I think the problem I have with that is that, to me, what Star Trek is not world building. It's not lore. To me, Star Trek is executing like high sci-fi pseudo realism and saying, "What if?" What if AI had sentience? Dune isn't like that for me. Dune, what I think Frank Herbert was setting out to do was to create a fleshed out world that takes place far in the future from our own world, but kind of reflects a lot of the religious and socio-political and racial struggles that we have today.
Yeah, that makes see. I think I like it. I think the reason I enjoy it, part of it, well, first of all, I'm a big Star Trek fan. I'm not like huge, but I do enjoy Star Trek. But I enjoy it because it's like it's not I wouldn't say it's like one of the I would never say it's like, oh, like you've got to fucking watch Dune to like understand but I will say, first of all, it's immensely convoluted. Like they throw so much at you and expect you to understand it like so fast. Like there were scenes that I rewatched, like I like went back and like rewinded 15 so I was like, thank God I'm not watching this in a theater, because if this is my first exposure to this world, I would be utterly confused, which it is my first exposure to this world, but I'm so glad that I could rewind it and go back, because I haven't read the books or anything. I went. So
you said you saw the '84 film before.
I saw the '84 film before, and I'll talk about later why I'm actually like happy I kind of did, but I there are parts of this movie I really enjoyed. First of all, Jean-Luc Picard's in it, and I think even though the role is like minuscule, like it's like weird, like he shows up at the end for no reason. Like it really felt like it kind of came out of nowhere. But it's just, there's so many things about it that make me feel like I should like it, that I feel like I do like it. Like the CG is weird, like when the shields, and how it looks like a Minecraft, like
it looks Tron,
like it looks like Steve, yeah, like they have like blocks and you can't really see any of the action. They just, it's weird shit like that I'm like, I kind of fuck with this. Or like at the end when he brings a pug into space, like they have a pug in space. It's like one of the dudes, it's like an offhand thing, and the bad guy was the weirdest part for me. If there was a part of this movie that I don't understand or like, it's what's the bad guy's name? The Baron. The Baron, yeah, the Baron. I
think it partially didn't age well because his lair is like this green room.
Exact. Thank you. I was literally about to say that. I said in my notes, I said his room looks like a studio. Like it looks like auditorium that they were like, okay, let's block this out and shoot this scene. Like you expect like green screen or something, but it's like they forgot to put that in editing.
You're kind of hinting at this, but I don't necessarily appreciate it because I don't really appreciate anything about this movie other than Toto. Toto wrote the score.
Okay. The score is good, yeah. The score is
pretty rad. But what I think is interesting is that there's a lot in the book. A lot of the lore is told through inner monologue.
Oh yeah.
Because all the characters already know everything.
It is very dense, and it's kind of a hard read. A little.
So for the '84 movie, and you'll talk about, I'm sure, how they approach this in the 2021 movie.
Yeah.
But in '84, they decided, let's not stay true to the book at all by inserting every little bit of lore into the script.
It's like it's sometimes, and it happens. The inner monologue thing that you mentioned it's what killed. Like, if I were to be like, God, I fucking hate this movie, it's because of the inner monologue thing. Because it's not like, a lot of times when we get an inner monologue, it's like we're following one character and we get that inner monologue. But this felt like I was reading the novel, because it goes and like every time there's a character who's like thinking something, instead of them like showing you that through their like acting ability is what I would say, they had the actor be like, oh no, this is how exactly how I feel. It's like reading stage directions, but I'm watching a movie. Like it's like, and now I feel this way towards him, or maybe he should use the voice. Like it's like,
and they would introduce lore elements without giving any reason why it matters. Like I remember they just monologued about the Mentats. They're like, this is the planet that the Mentats are from.
Yeah.
And they never explain why there are Mentats.
Yeah.
Because at that time in the story, it doesn't matter. And we'll talk about in 21, they don't even mention Mentats.
Yeah, they didn't even say anything about that. Yeah. Yeah. And it's that's what I'm saying. Like I don't have any clue what you're talking about, because it was like they mentioned them, but they mentioned them like boom, like you get hit with that information and then you have to move on to the next information so fast. Like it feels like they crammed so much into one movie. It's like the opposite of the Hobbit films. Like I feel like the Hobbit films were stretched thin, but this film feels like it was like mashed all together. And there's moments that feel so weird. I don't know, like the opening is so weird, where they just have like these people, like these disembodied voices who tell you about the planets. Like they're like, well, this is Arrakis, and then this is what's the home world called, the main planet?
Caladan.
Yeah, they're like, this is Caladan, and this is the leader. Like it's like I'm watching a lesson on Dune. It's like I searched up a YouTube video and was like,
right.
yeah, I don't know. It's so weird, and everyone in the movie whispers. I never have a problem with subtitles. Like I don't like subtitles when I'm watching movies a lot of times. But this is the one film that I turned on subtitles because I was like, I cannot hear anybody in the movie because everything's said like this. Like they're like, hey, like you need to, like they're talking just to themselves. Like it's two people in a room, nobody's listening, and they're like, oh my god, I can't believe he's listening while I'm sleeping. Like it was like fucking weird. I don't know. There's so many.
Okay, I have 2 questions for you, Dylan.
Yeah.
As someone who has not read the book.
Mm-hmm.
And we can just talk about the way it's portrayed in this movie, but I'm sure you'll explain how you feel about the second movie. But I have 2 questions. The first one is, what do you think the spice does? Why is it so valuable? And 2, why are the Atreides so dangerous to the Emperor? So, because I'm not sure that's explained well in either movie. So I want to hear.
Do you want me to explain what I thought? What
do you feel like the movie tells you?
In 1984, in 1984, what I feel like the movie tells me? In 1984, watching that film, I had no idea why the Emperor gave a fuck about the Atreides. I had no understanding of why he wanted to wipe them all out, and I didn't feel any connection to any of the characters. So so this is what I'm saying. I only like this movie just because it's so fucking goofy. Like it's so weird. It's like fun to watch.
It's one of those movies you have a watch party and then you talk and
talk over it the whole time.
You talk over it and you make jokes of how bad it is.
Yeah, and I think that's like the part of it that I enjoy, because like I would never be like, oh my god, like what? Let's watch fucking Dune 84 right now. Like, bro, you have no idea. And as far as like spice goes, the spice, when I was watching 1984, I was like, so it's basically weed? Like, because they explain that it's like a spiritual awakening. It's like what they kind of say it is. Like you have a spiritual awakening and then eventually your eyes like turn blue. And I was like, so it's like, it's some sort of like narcotic or something? Like I didn't understand coming out of it why the spice was important, or like why.
I guess that's my problem. Those are the 2 most important parts of this first story, and it doesn't explain either one.
Like it's so weird. It's like I don't know. It's like I missed something. Like I was like, okay, the Atreides are a threat. Why? In both films, I didn't understand why the Atreides had to go.
So.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
It's that's you got to read a book. Like you got to read the book to more or less understand it, and more, because it's.
The thing with it is I don't feel like they really revealed it in 2021 yet.
They didn't.
What I can't say about 84 is that they made up a reason the Atreides are dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
That's not in the book.
Was it like combat based? Because
the gun that uses
you're right. That's so true.
waves.
That's right. The sound gun.
And that's not in the book.
Wait, hold on.
Okay, thank God
what?
that was.
What?
I was watching this, Troy, and I was looking at this like sound gun thing, and I was watching this before I went and saw the new one, and I was watching him do this like and the laser and like fire and break the laser. All I could think was, oh my God, is this really about to happen in in 2021? Am I about to go see Timothée Chalamet like point a gun at something and go?
So Kirby, in 1984, the Atreides have developed a weapon that uses sound waves as an alternative gun, basically, and it gets past all shields, and it's just this ultimate weapon, and that's why in 1984 the Emperor's scared of them, and then it gets better. When Paul Atreides meets the Fremen, he teaches them how to create this special sound gun. And
then there's like it's like
all right, hold on.
It's like a 1 minute, 2 minute scene of him like training them, and it's like, and then suddenly there's like a group of all of them like militarized behind him. It's so weird.
So, all right, Troy, hold on. What was there? What is it? Lays guns, lav guns. What were they in 1984?
I don't remember, but this gun that I'm talking about is unique to David Lynch.
Okay.
I was reading a little bit about it. I couldn't find I forgot the name, but I think the idea is that he was having a hard time explaining why the Atreides were such a threat to the Emperor. And foreshadowing, so does the 21 crew. But that was his answer, is that they invented a new weapon. And I just think that
it's so stupid.
Right, and it diminishes the
actual reason why.
Right, and Paul,
like it completely like ruins the character of Paul.
You know what I will say though, I actually do think the guy that they have in 84 for Paul, I think he's actually
Kyle.
Yeah, the dude who's the dad. He was the dad in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to Daisy, and I do think he actually is a good
Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah, I do think he's a good fit for Paul. I did actually kind of enjoy his performance, and that was surprising because when I was looking at the poster, I was like, oh no, it's this fucking guy. But I think he does. I think he actually does a pretty good job.
It is funny that he's older, so they had to make all of his dad's advisors like in the 60s.
Yeah, for real. I noticed that too. And oh my god, the part. Okay, this is what trips me up the most. Like, this is why I'm saying this film is something you sit down and like watch and like laugh with all your friends, because at the beginning of the film, when Jean-Luc Picard is introduced, he has like this short like cut hair like he does in kind of like Star Trek, right? And then when he comes in at the end, it's fucking all grown out, and he has like these long strands, but the top of his head is still completely bald, so he just has like these weird like long pieces of hair coming from the sides of his head. I died. I couldn't.
That's weird.
Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about this fucking weird alien thing that they chose to go with. I don't know if that's how it's described in the book, but it's the most uncomfortable. Do you know what I'm talking about, Troy? The one with the weird mouth that's like I don't want to say what it is because I want to keep it semi. Okay, but you know what I'm saying? It looks awfully uncomfortable.
Okay. Oh, those are the navigators.
Yeah, I have no idea what their purpose was.
That's essential to the lore that neither movie explains.
Okay. Because I was like, I don't fucking know what this weird alien thing that looks like a private part is talking about.
We'll get there after. We'll talk about lore, I guess, after.
Okay. Because I was like, what is going on? And why am I watching this? And why is it terribly green screen? Like,
the fact that, I guess my thing is like the fact that you didn't know what that was means that David Lynch completely failed.
Okay. Well, I'm glad. Well, he made it a very fun movie, but I didn't walk away going, oh, I understand Dune so well now. But what I will say is I did understand the story. Mm-hmm. Like I understood like where the story was going, and because I understood the story, there was not really anything that surprised me in the new one. So like as far as like prep for the new one, it wasn't bad. I'm glad I kind of went in with that preface of like understanding what was going on. But yeah, I think it has an interesting ending. Like where he's riding the worm and then oh god, and then the dream visions that are almost completely different in the new one where he like is imagining water like all the time. It's like they have stock footage. And they're like, throw that water droplet in there over and over again. And it's just like one drop of water hitting like an entire, it's so weird. I don't understand.
We'll get to that when we get to the theories. Because I have some,
like David Lynch theories or just theories of Dune in general?
Theories of where both directors thought they would have taken the story next.
Okay, cool. Okay. Yeah. I do like the production design a lot for Dune 94. I think that is a big thing that I enjoy. Especially you mentioned like the dark oak designs. For some reason that I really liked that aesthetic, like where it's like, I don't know, it's like in watching Empire or Return of the Jedi, especially. You know how like the backdrops, like these big like massive like paintings that they use I just thought those were super impressive, even in Dune 1984. Holy shit, this movie came out after Return of the Jedi. Wow. Okay. I didn't think about it. I thought it was just after Empire, but no, the trilogy finished and then this happened. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, and I like costume design too, except for that. The only production design issue I had was that weird fucking alien, but we'll talk about it later.
I agree. That and the Harkonnens that were not scary. They just looked like
no. And why are they all gingers?
Wait, what? Are you serious?
It's so weird. Like that had to be on purpose, right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what they were going for. I don't know.
I was like, I was so
they made
confused.
all the
like,
Harkonnens
does David
just
Lynch
ginger?
have like a thing against like people with red hair? Like he was like, I'm gonna make the fucking bad guys red hair. Like, is that how it is in the book, or is that?
No.
They're not well described in the book. There's a lot of room for interpretation, as far as I know. I don't know if Kirby has.
The only one that's really described is the Baron, and that's it.
What he is disgusting in.
Yeah. So in the book, the first chapter that you read about him, you don't even the entire chapter. You just hear him. You don't physically see him, and then at the very end, it describes him like stepping out of the shadow, and it's just this disgusting like fat folds of a man that you see like in 2021, and it's just disgusting. And you're supposed to say, "Ew, that's a nasty man," just to even look at.
They did that really, really well in 1984. Then, because every time he was on screen, I wanted to stop looking at him. Like it was really unbearable. Like how bad he's got like boils and stuff on his. I hate it. I was like, this is disgusting. But let's get into 2021 and throw Kirby in there too. Kirby, what did you think about Dune 2021?
So I came in with this. I've only read half of Dune so far. I'm working on the other half. And I'm glad that I did because
you basically read the movie.
Yeah, I did, and it definitely helps coming in with like outside knowledge of what everything is. Like what are the mentats? What are why did the Emperor send Atreides to Dune and what everything is going on? It helped out a lot with that, and with that outside knowledge, in my opinion, Dune is one of the best movies I've seen all year. It's I can't remember the name of the director.
Really, best movie? One of the best you've seen all year?
Yeah, without a doubt.
What beats it? If something were to beat it, what would you say it was?
I mean, what else has come out this year?
No. Well, okay. Well, I thought you had a list ready, but you just
no.
Okay,
No Time to Die.
No Time to Die.
Cry Macho, Malignant, Candyman.
Oh, Cry Macho is a tough.
Yeah, you like Cry Macho a lot.
That was a good one.
Yeah,
my film of the year so far, The Last Duel.
I haven't seen that movie so bad. I'm seeing it Tuesday.
It's my
I'm really excited.
Shang-Chi.
No, Dune's better than Shang-Chi.
The Green Knight, which was also really good.
Green Knight was really.
I'm going to give it a 4.3.
I think I just don't understand that movie. I'm going to be honest.
I
think it's a little too much for me to understand.
It's a very weird book, and it's A24, so it's going to be weird.
It was the weirdest movie I've seen, and I genuinely feel I just don't understand it. It just
Quiet Place 2, Black Widow, Luca.
I think A Quiet Place 2 is easily. Well, go. Troy, what are your thoughts on the new Dune film? What do you think?
My long-term enjoyment of this movie is contingent on whether or not they make a sequel.
Thank you. That's exactly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
It's not even announced or confirmed or anything. It's still up in the air.
Well, yeah. Denis Villeneuve wanted to do them back to back, but Warner Brothers was like, "Well, let's see how the first one goes, and then maybe we can make a second one."
Although it's important to note that by the time this publishes, it may be announced. It could be Monday.
Yeah,
that's true. It's a beautiful movie, but it's not a full story. It is the first act. There are not 3 acts. You know.
Yeah.
It's like it's the intro, and then like the second act, and then it ends.
Yeah. I think that's my biggest problem, and I think that's why I didn't not like it. don't know if I loved it. Does that make sense? Like I liked it, but I liked it, I think, for the wrong reasons. I didn't like it because I was like, oh my God, like it's not like I watched this movie and I don't feel any connection to any of them really. Like none of the characters I really care about.
Not Gurney or Duncan or anything.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if this is maybe just because I knew Duncan was like toast because I watched 1984, and maybe that was. But even then, you've read the book. You know Duncan dies, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was like, he's funny. Like I was like, it's Jason Momoa. It's like he's a funny guy. He's charismatic. But I wasn't like upset about his death. Like I was like, okay, well, I thought his death was cool. Like I was like, oh, that's a cool way to go out. Like he saves everybody or whatever. But I don't know if I like I would put it slightly above average because I think it's made really well, but I don't think it's a like full story. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree. But it's made so well that I could see it 3 more times, just living in that world, seeing those shots, hearing all the throat singing.
Yeah.
With the hard
the guttural throat singing.
It was such a trip to just live with. And I can't remember the last movie that I've really felt like that. Maybe Space Odyssey.
2049?
2000.
I didn't see 2049, but I heard it's like that.
Oh, Blade Runner.
Yeah. I will say like that guttural throat singing. If you like it in this, you would love it in Blade Runner 2049.
I just feel like I don't know. I didn't feel like here's the thing is all 3 of us are the guys that this movie was made for, right? You know what I'm saying? And I was watching this film, and as I was kind of looking around the audience, half of my theater got up and walked out. Like they got up and left. Like they didn't come back. Like I was watching and I was like, oh, like, and this was about halfway through the film. Like a lot of them just got up and were like, excuse us, we're gonna leave. And I kind of realized that I feel like this movie isn't really made for people that aren't like, you know what I'm saying? Like people that aren't huge into sci-fi or huge, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not, this movie isn't a general audience movie. Like this movie's made for sci-fi fans. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What I'll also say though, is that I feel like, and both of you guys have worked in theater, and I feel like theater people are also especially prepped for this film.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Because it's something that you live with, and most theater is designed to live with it and to just let it happen and not be anxious. Let the story come to you in its own time. And in a way, in this movie especially, the story was almost an excuse to tell the real story was seeing the dune, seeing the sand, seeing the spaceship come down. Like that was the real narrative. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about let's focus on the story here. Like we said, I feel like we all feel like it's half of something that should be there, and I don't feel like the climax being what essentially was the knife fight, right? Like the knife fight would be deemed the climax, right? There wasn't, or would you say it was like him running from the sandworm? Because I don't think that would necessarily be the climax because there was still an action scene.
No, I would say, to me, I wouldn't even say the knife fight. I think the climax is him finding Chani. I think that's how you say it. Chaney. Whatever.
Zendaya?
Yeah, Zendaya.
Okay.
It's her, or is Paul finding Zendaya. To me, I feel like that's the climax.
I mean, I guess that feels more like a reveal. Like you're like, oh shit, that's the girl he's been seeing like over and over again. I feel like, I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Troy? Do you think the climax would be the knife fight, or do you think it was when like, or what do you think?
No, I wasn't being cute or smug when I said that I don't consider this a 3-act movie. I think this is the greatest bluff in cinematic history. I really believe that this is the first half of a 5-hour movie. And if he makes the second movie, it's going to be the rest, and it's going to start immediately afterwards. I'm looking at the hero's journey.
See, go ahead. You have more.
I'm looking at the hero's journey. So it starts with call to adventure, which we get. Supernatural aid, which we'll talk about, which we get. And then the threshold guardian happens with the beginning of the transformation going into the new world. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the end of the movie is when he goes into the new world.
Mm-hmm.
You think so?
I think that this is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone up until he walks through platform 9 3/4. And one day we'll have all the movies and it'll feel like that. But for now, it's incredibly unsatisfying and eerie and makes me feel anxious because he has not been greenlit to finish this movie. But I don't consider it the whole thing.
Yeah.
I just think this is all he had the money for. It's just doing the first 2.5 hours.
And yeah, Troy, I think it really feels like that. I think it really feels, it feels like one half of a story. And I think that's a problem. Because, like, okay, let me explain it like this. So we know that watching The Hobbit, because I guess that's like the closest thing I have to compare it to, right? That's one novel, right? And while it's stretched thin, each film does feel like it has a deserved ending. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so when you make the first half of your movie and it doesn't feel like the ending, that it kind of feels like a problem to me. Do you know what I'm saying? Not necessarily something like I will agree when I see them all and if I see the second one and it's like a great ending, like I'm like fucking crazy, I'll never watch them separate. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll be like, this is one thing. But unless you're Quentin Tarantino and you're telling everyone, he did tell everyone before. So that's why I'm conflicted. He was like, this is one part of a story. But I wish he hadn't done that. I don't know. It bothers me that it is like that because I was watching the movie and I was like, I just want this movie to end and me to feel like, okay, part one is over. Now I'm ready for part two. Like I want this movie to stand on its own and then part two to also stand on its own. But it really feels like you'll have to watch both. Does that make sense?
So I think it, like say the second one gets made and it comes out and we watch and all that. I don't think when you would talk about it in past tense, I don't think you would say, oh yeah, Dune part 1 or Dune part 2. I think you would just say Dune because it doesn't. But like you said with The Hobbit, you said each one has its own more ending or a satisfying ending. But with this one, he's just going for one giant story and not trying to add anything in between.
Yeah. See, I feel that, but here's the thing with this is like Troy was bringing up, the second one's not greenlit. It's not like Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit where they're like they greenlit the entire all three movies go. You know what I'm saying? So they know they're going to make bank on this. They know it's bankable and they know they're going to make that movie. He basically made half a movie or half a story of a book, but doesn't know that he's going to be able to finish it. So is the movie worth, like if say that it's not going to it doesn't get greenlit because they're like, well, the movie's not making that much money. Do you know what I'm saying? Then we're stuck with half a film. And then when I say, oh yeah, Dune, like I saw Dune, people are going to be like, did you though? Like, like, do you understand like how the story and like, do you know where it's going? It just, I don't know.
I do think it was a bluff because there is a full story here. They just didn't decide to go with that. I kind of want to talk about, I've been thinking about perspective, the point of view character. In the book, the point of view character is Paul Atreides, which I have my own feelings about, but we're not here to review the book. The main character of the first half of the book could have been Duke Leto.
Oh yeah.
It could have been about his investigation into who his traitor is, which they didn't really get into. It could have been about his relationship with his son and with his consort, Jessica. They don't even explain why they never got married, which is a huge part of their story. They don't really explain why his two generals are like the most talented warriors in the whole universe.
Yeah, I didn't even know they were, to be honest. I knew Duncan. Here's what I thought. I thought Duncan was just a good fighter. Like I was like, oh yeah, he's a badass. And that's like the extent of my knowledge of Duncan.
They mention it once, the Harkonnens are like, why do we need dozens and dozens of legions? And
because
like, well, they got these two motherfuckers. They have these two guys who are just going to sweep the floor with everyone.
Okay, I do remember that scene. I don't know if I quite... I feel like this movie has the problem of 1984 for the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, they're like throwing all the information at you really fast, and then once you know the information, they slow it down and then kind of break it down a little bit more. But that first 10 minutes, I was like, man, I'm glad I saw 1984 because I kind of understood where they were going with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess I just think that it could have been a full story if it were from the dad's perspective, and then they switch over to Lady Jessica or Paul when he dies.
Also, that's a fantastic idea. If the story had been about the dad, and then we see like the hero of our story essentially die at the end, and then it's clear that like they're passing the baton to Timothy and them to take over. That would have been awesome.
And I didn't come up with that. That was George R.R. Martin. That's what Game of Thrones is.
Really?
The whole first season, as far as I'm concerned,
is Ned Stark's story.
Ned Stark's story.
Yeah.
It's only in season 2 that he passes the torch. Mm-hmm. And seeing the kids from his perspective, seeing the world from his perspective is what contextualizes this whole conflict.
Mm-hmm. And he's also in a position of power. So that's kind of brilliant. Because then when he dies, but I guess you would have to spend a lot of time then. You would have to fill the space, right? Like, because he dies about an hour and 30 minutes in the movie, so there's still an hour of film to go. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So if the first story was on him, is there enough in the book for them to like fill that space? You think?
Well, that's the other point of view thing that I was thinking about, and I don't know how deep you want us to go into what happens next without spoiling too much.
I mean, it's the book, so I mean, like the thing with it is like we could be like, this is what happens in the book, but I mean, the chances that it's exactly like they do in the books, like I know it's this is close, like this is really close to what happens in the book, but even you were saying
almost identical.
Yeah, you were saying they're missing some stuff out, so maybe it would be a little vague about it, but the book's also been out for ever. Yeah. So if you like are really interested in like not like if you don't want spoilers for the book, don't watch this. Like stop listening now because we're going to talk about what happens in the book because there's no guarantee that they're going to do that in the film anyway.
Let's take a step back and Kirby can help me. Mm-hmm. First thing we need to know. Actually, let me ask you the questions again. So the questions are, according to the 2021 movie, what do you understand is the spice and what does it do and why does it matter? And why does the Emperor want to kill the Atreides? And why does he send them to Arrakis?
Yeah. Okay. So I understand he sends them to Arrakis to get the spice, essentially, or at least that's what he tells them he's going to do, right?
Yeah.
And then towards the end of the film, you find out he sent them there to die, is what they say. Like he sent them there because basically the whole operation's fucked anyway, because all their equipment's trash and like that's kind of what I got. And there's like a lack of water and resources. Like they're in trouble if they stay there. But it's also he sent them there to, I think he sent them there to get, like what he told him is to get the spice, right? Like, but I understand that he takes them out because this is what I thought I was trying to understand. They're a threat to him in some way because they are so powerful. Like them having the like best combat abilities and stuff like that is the reason he sent them there. So they will get weaker in the deserts. And eventually he can come in and do what he does and kill them.
So that's one of the issues with the movie. That's what Duke Leto thinks.
Mm-hmm. That's not actually why.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Right. He thinks they're sending us to Arrakis because that will weaken our military. And the Emperor knows that our military is the strongest in the universe.
Yeah.
So he goes because there's no good reason to say no because anyone there has become the richest person in the universe.
Yeah. Yeah.
The reality is the Emperor sent them to Arrakis to be distracted by rebuilding the infrastructure so that the Emperor can send his legions along with the Harkonnens down to the planet.
No, okay, I didn't know that. What? Wait,
so it's a lot of outside knowledge that you've got to know.
Wait, what about the Harkonnens? What? Say it again.
The Harkonnens were a part of the attack.
I know that, but you're saying he sent them there. Say the last part again.
So the Harkonnens were on Arrakis.
Yeah, I know that.
He had them leave because they knew how to defend Kaladin, but they didn't know how to defend Arrakis. And there's a little bit in the movie with the assistant, the doctor, who took down the shields. That kind of happens in the book, but the main thing that happens in the book is that he's supposed to make Duke Leto go unconscious. Mm-hmm. That's his main job. The reality is that the Harkonnens and the Emperor were using older technology that they knew the Arrakis shields would not protect from.
Oh, okay. So they is basically an ambush attack because they knew they couldn't defend.
Right. And because they knew Duke Leto would be thinking that they sent them on Arrakis to like starve to death.
Very, because they are, and Duke Leto basically is like, he's gonna of course take that because he thinks he's the hot shit. Like he thinks he's the best there is. Okay. Yeah. No, didn't get any of that. None of that.
Okay. Explain the spice.
The spice is, I did understand in this film, they use it on their ships. Like that's how the ships like are able to travel in space, essentially, is like hyperspeed or whatever they call it.
Yeah. That's how they achieve interstellar travel.
Exactly.
Right.
I understood
but it's
that.
not.
It's basically gas.
They
right?
changed it.
Yeah.
So here's what happened. It's kind of hard. It's weird.
It is very weird, and there's like spice is kind of the multi-tool of the universe.
But I also, but what I also saw is it's also a hallucinogen, clearly, because yeah.
In the new movie, they say that it's used for navigation. That's basically what they say.
Yeah.
What it's used for is they give it to children, slowly but surely. What the spice does, it's not just a hallucinogen. It lets you see into the future. It lets you see all of the possible realities.
Okay.
And for normal people, that hurts you.
But
you
Paul,
can
he's already
microdose
doing
someone.
that. Right? Paul's already doing that by the time it happens anyway.
So you can microdose someone on it, and that's what the aliens were in Dune 84.
Okay.
That is what a normal human looks like after they ingest years and years.
So much of the spice.
Okay, see, I didn't understand any of that in 1984, and I am just now understanding it. Is that going to be a twist, or did they kind of half-ass explain that in the movie?
I don't even think they tried. They kind of said it went to the ships, but I think in most of the lore, it's kind of a multi-tool, but they do like shoot it into the cockpit, and the navigator gets high and sees it.
Is that what Paul is essentially? Is that why Paul's essentially the chosen one? Is because it doesn't really have that effect on him?
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about.
There's so with Dune overall, there's plans within plans within plans on everything, and Paul is or who. What Paul is one of those plans within plans within plans. And
the end of book 1 in Dune, because it's split into 3 books.
Yes.
The end of book 1, they have a giant plot twist that they do not say in the movie.
No, at all.
Can I share that?
I'd say so.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. It's in the book. I mean, they might be handled differently in the movie.
Paul reveals that he is not the Messiah that the Fremen think he is. The reason he can see into the future without being harmed by the spice and almost with unlimited potential is because he is a perfect crossbreed, because Lady Jessica
they already kind of mentioned that in the
is
movie.
the son of the Baron.
Yes. Oh shit, they didn't mention that at all.
Well, yeah, and
the Baron thing, but they mentioned that she's kind of sleeping around with people she's not supposed to.
So can I go
ahead.
This isn't in the first book. This is just from outside knowledge from like the podcast I was telling you about and just what I've looked up. The mother of Lady Jessica, from what I understand and pretty sure, is the Reverend Mother.
Right.
Do you remember who that was, Dylan?
That's the one that has Paul put his hand in the thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And and the Reverend Mother, there's only one of them. And she's kind of like, I don't want to say the leader of the space nuns, the Ben Gesserit, and I just wanted to say that since we said the Baron was.
So okay, so and the Baron has been on the spice stuff for a while now, right? That's why it's kind of doesn't affect Paul, I'm guessing.
A little bit. It's a little more pro-monarchy than that. The idea is that both families have pure bloods. And so he is the perfect combination of like the purest, because the Ben Gesserit, and Kirby could tell you more about this than I could. In the larger lore, a part of their job is to do selective breeding, both to make people more powerful, but also to make people less powerful. Yeah. And Paul was almost an accident because he wasn't supposed to be.
He wasn't supposed to have a daughter, right? They said that, yeah.
And Jessica wasn't really supposed to be the daughter of the Baron. So he's the first boy of both families.
they kind of touch on that a little bit. They don't mention that she's the Baron's daughter, but I don't know. It's, you know, I'm gonna be honest. I think Paul, I don't want to say he's one of my issues, but I think I don't there's something off to me about the story that Paul is given, and I don't know if that's just the first like part of the book, because in reality, I rarely ever do this, but I kind of took note of Paul's struggle, I guess. And as I was watching the movie, all I could think was he really hasn't had anything happen to him that wasn't like, Paul doesn't necessarily mess up at all in the movie. He does one thing, I think, where it's like, oh, he wasn't supposed to do this, and it's when he like stamps his foot on the ground and then they run from the worm.
That's the mistake. The mistake is that they didn't explain why, and it's hard to make a movie about why, because you probably kind of got this from both movies. What makes Paul special is that he can see all the outcomes of every possible decision he or anyone else makes.
No, they didn't explain that. I just thought he was having crazy dreams. His
struggle in the whole series and his kid's struggle and his line is that he has the burden of knowing everything that's going to happen, no matter what.
And what he does is him choosing what direction goes from it. So you remember in this new one, you see all the different scenes with him and Zendaya. Like there was a scene where he and her were up on a ship on Caladan, and there was a bunch of Fremen down on the planet.
Okay, and he's bleeding, right?
And those are all the different outcomes,
possibilities. Okay. Yeah, that wasn't. I don't think that was explained very well, because I was maybe it's on purpose. Maybe it's purposely done that way so I can understand it later when we see it.
When part two.
Yeah, when part two comes out, maybe that's on purpose, because be like, I'm actually seeing the futures, and then the audience will be like, oh, he's seeing the future. That's what the visions are.
They hinted at it. He's like the ultimate Mary Sue. That's why he beat the knife fight, because he saw himself die a million times.
That's what I'm getting at. He saw that's all the problem for me, and that's rarely ever a problem for me, because if you know he's the ultimate Mary Sue, there's no risk involved. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, because there's the part in the film where he's in a helicopter in the sandstorm, or whatever the wing flappy thing in the sandstorm, and he goes, I was like, okay, so this is when I noticed. This is when I started looking back and going, oh, he's kind of perfect. Like, he's kind of like, he doesn't really make mistakes here. He goes, okay, I'm gonna stop controlling the thing now, and then we're gonna make it out. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this isn't gonna work. And then it works, and he's like, we made it out. I was like, okay. And then I was like, okay, so clearly there's gonna be a problem here that's like on him. But no, all the problems that arise are typically from outside of his control. Like, he fails the landing, I guess fails. They both live, but he fails the landing because the wings break, but he had no control in that breaking. So it's like,
that was the best of the outcomes. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna give a massive spoiler. Leave
for the book?
If you don't, I'm gonna give you a huge spoiler. Right?
Okay, that's fine.
So
spoiler warning for the book if you care about reading it or you think it'll affect the film. Go ahead, Troy.
The real story of Dune are the consequences of always making the right decision. In Dune Messiah, he becomes the supreme leader of the universe, and the Fremen go on a quest in his name and kill 64 billion people. And everyone tries to plot against him, but he can just stop it all, because he's Paul. And then he has kids, and he tries to use his powers for good, and then his kids don't care about that at all. And they live for 1,200 years. And just the entire universe faces the consequences of these perfect people.
See, that's my problem then with having this be, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a problem, because you're watching this film and you want to relate to Paul in some way, but you can't, because he doesn't really seem to have any flaws. And if you discover halfway through the film, like I did, that he's not making any, there's no character flaws here whatsoever, then when you watch the climax with a knife fight, all you can think about is, like, he's gonna win this. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that is a problem. If we don't know that, like the heart of the story, and I like the movie. I thought it was good. I'm not trying to bash it. I'm just saying like this is an issue with me. If we don't know that at the end of the story, it's going to be like, oh, the problem is that he knows. Like that's the issue, is that he can't lose. It's like One Punch Man, essentially, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Basically, I think I've never seen the show, but I've heard that's basically what it is he gets bored because he can't lose. But I'm saying if we don't know that, then like we just feel like, okay, well, I mean, what's like, where's our attachment to the, like, there's no risk involved for the audience.
And it makes it harder for each movie. Like, how far are you going to go? Because the story they're setting up now is, like you said, to make them this underdog who's fighting evil. But that's not, like, it's kind of a more complicated story that they're trying to tell. So, like, what do you guys think? What should they do next?
Yeah, I think they need to tell us soon. I think if they do get greenlit for a sequel, they need to let us know in the second one. So they need to make us know that he sees the futures, and that's the problem. Because us thinking that he is like an underdog is an issue, because we're expecting, okay, maybe, holy shit, like maybe he's gonna lose. But if we know he's gonna win every time, and then they do something interesting with that instead of making us think maybe he can lose,
yeah,
that'll be more engaging. Because when I realized he's not losing and he hasn't yet, I didn't get that from 1984. I knew he was kind of like a messiah or whatever, a muad'Dib, or basically is what he becomes. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool, but that movie happens so fast. It's one unit. Like that is a film. Like the film ends, and it's like, okay, that's the ending of the movie. This one is half a story, so like I was just like, well, where's the engagement?
What do you think, Kirby?
What do you think? Yeah, what do you think?
But like what do I think I'm like
where do they go with this?
Yeah.
So I don't know where they're gonna go with this. I think instead of Dune being a movie, and if they say Dune make all the books into films out of this, and making them to two-parters or whatever, if this is a trend and keeps going, I think they should have made like a TV show out of it, like an HBO show, like Game of Thrones it a little bit.
I agree, actually. This
because
a really TV series.
Because Dune is so complex, like Game of Thrones, they can take forever on episodes with hardly any like action, and it's just plot building, world building, character building. That's perfect for a TV show, but it's hard to do with movies. And I'm kind of interested. I kind of do want them to make them into the movies, and make them on the trend, and hopefully they all do well.
I'm sure the studio does too.
Well,
I'm sure the studio. Yeah. I'm sure WB does too. That'd be awesome.
But I mean, I don't know. I liked it, and I don't like it at the same time, if that makes sense.
Why? Because of it only being half a story, or is it because of something else, like other outlying issues, do you think?
I like it because, in my opinion, it's good. Because I came out to the movie with outside knowledge, I knew what things were, looking at them and saying, oh yeah, hey, that's Mentat. I know why that bull's head is above the dinner table facing the certain way it is, and different things like that. But
that was the grandfather, right?
Yeah, the grandfather was a bullfighter.
Fighting the bull.
Bullfighter and all that. But if you're like an average Joe or whatever, and you come in watching this, you're gonna be like, okay, what the hell was that? And it might have still been good, but you don't understand a lot of the movie.
Yeah. I think,
and that's why I don't like it, because a lot of other people won't understand it, but I love it because I get a lot of the stuff.
If you don't know, it isn't palatable. Like, I feel like the Lord of the Rings films made the books that are super dense and like descriptive palatable for a general audience, even though they're 4 hours long.
A part of the thing that helped also is that the hobbits have a very straightforward story. So anytime they were getting confused, they could lean on the hobbits.
Mhm.
The Dune doesn't have that. Maybe
No.
Lady Jessica, she's the most interesting character. She has the most flaws. She has the most art, the biggest art.
She has the most like challenging of positions of where she's at.
Mhm. Yeah, I thought
because she can't see the future.
Yeah.
Like
I thought she was acted well, and I thought she was very interesting. Like as far as characters go, I thought that was very, very interesting.
Can we talk about one scene?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Which one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, for me, like luckily I didn't have to pay to see the movie, but I'm going to pay to see it again.
Yeah.
Because of the scene where they're kind of overlooking, they're getting the lowdown for all of the parts of the mining process, and they find the mining ship.
Yeah.
That whole sequence leading from there through the worm and then the broken arm.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, Paul runs out there and they evacuate all the Fremen. And then
that is not how that happened.
Yeah,
that like half of what happened in that scene that's not how that happened.
I thought that scene was very well done.
No, I thought it was too. I love that scene, but it's nowhere near. Well, it's somewhat near, but it's not. They added a bunch of stuff on.
What's funny is that was my favorite scene of the movie.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. No, I really like that scene. I like the part where Josh Brolin comes out and he like grabs Timothy and he's like, the hardest choices require the strongest wills, and he like pulls him into
which makes sense if you know what's happening.
Yes,
this is a Thanos quote.
Oh my god,
that went over everybody's head because I thought Josh Brolin was great. Is he gonna come back? Essentially, is that Jean-Luc? That's Jean-Luc Picard, right?
I think so. Or
yes, that's Gurney. Yeah, it's Gurney.
Okay.
I thought he was great. And
they're all done.
You could tell. What I love about Gurney. His character, his portrayal at least, is you could in the 1984 version, it just felt like he was like a trainer and I'm an asshole. But then like all at the end, he's like excited to see him alive, and I was like, okay,
yeah.
But in this one, I feel like it's genuinely like tough love. Like he's worried about Paul dying.
That's what it is. It is tough.
Yeah. And I feel like this film.
I'm hired to protect you, and I'll do anything that I can. And then I'm teaching you. You need to like understand my lessons. But yeah, I'm gonna joke with you and try to have a like good time with it.
Yeah.
We need to talk about the larger complicated metaphor of all this.
With the what do you mean? Because
they never say this word, but Kirby knows this. The main conflict. So, but way before 10,000 years ago, there was a fight between the humans and the robots, and the humans won. That's why there are no computers.
Yeah, that there's a rule that's saying do not make machines in the like of man.
See, they kept saying 10,000, and I was like, oh, okay, so this is on our clock. But I was thinking to myself, I was like, why are there no guns? Like that's literally all I could think is, why are we using swords again?
And and to give you a better understanding of the spice, since there are no robots or AIs or anything, because that's how the machines took over, there's human AIs is the best way I could put it. They're
mentats. That's what the mentats.
Well, yes, that is what the mentats are. But there's even more computer-like ones than the mentats.
Are you telling me? Is this what you're telling me right now? That basically Dune is like an aftermath to Terminator?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah. Very futuristic and like way past the apocalypse type thing.
But here's where it gets kind of complicated that I wanted to get into. They called that battle the Jihad.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called the Jihad that the Fremen are against the Royals.
Okay.
It's a story about a bunch of European white people going to a desert and dealing with the locals while taking all of their natural resources. And the locals are waging a jihad against the royals, which is a word used in Islam culture.
Yes.
This is clearly like a really problematic metaphor that he made in the 70s.
Well, and I will say, when Frank Herbert was writing Dune back in like 75, something like that.
71, even earlier, yeah.
Well, yeah, 71. He took like a lot of inspiration from Middle Eastern language and all that. That's why you have like jihad and
Muad'Dib.
yeah,
Muad'Dib.
Muad'Dib and Ben Gesserit and all those different words that I mean, yeah, the jihad and the metaphor. He had a lot of influence from the Middle East.
And their
writing.
Messiah is a white dude who can see the future and guide them to success. Like, it's a little 70s.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very complicated.
Yeah.
Denis has actually like talked about it. There are articles. He has his own feelings. People can make their own opinions. I just think that it's worth mentioning.
Yeah. No, that is actually interesting because it's. I'll just leave it. It's really interesting. I think I see. That's what I was putting together. I put together the going into another country and taking the spice.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I got from it, and I was like, okay, this is clearly a larger metaphor that is hopefully will be dated in 20 years. But I really I did pick up on that, and I was like, yeah. I think that the thing this movie does better than 1984 is everything. But I think what
yeah.
But I think what 1984 does better is tell a story that ends, which we've already gone into length like talking about. But I think that's what's killing it for me. So what do you guys think? Like, they if they do get the green light, do you think they'll go the way the book where like
I think the problem that we're having right now is we're only reviewing half a movie. We're not reviewing a whole movie right here.
Yeah.
Or a feature film.
Yeah.
You know, that's the problem.
They kind of let you know. And I'm glad they do this because a lot of times they'll do like title cards after the credits. Like they'll be like Dune Part 1, and then they'll show you like the Part 1 will show up, and you'll be like, oh, okay, that's why it felt like half a story. But in this one,
it'll be like Thor will return.
Yeah. But in this one, directly
it's
off the bat, it's
off.
like this is Dune Part 1. Like you need to see Part 2. But with the way that it ends, do you guys think that there is an audience out there besides like us who will want to see a Part 2?
Yeah.
There was a whole generation of Gen Xers that did read the books.
Yes.
And I really think that's who they're marketing to. It's not just like sci-fi fans. It's like
it's
I work at a movie theater. I work at a diamond theater. And I've served a lot of people really hyped for this movie that are very similar to the No Time to Die audience.
Yeah.
A lot of boomers, a lot of Gen Xers. And it's a smart movie. It's a smart series. I think they'll buy it, you know? Like, I think the fact that Denis doing it with Timothée Chalamet, who's a really talented actor,
he is.
Like,
and
I think they're going to be willing to go those places.
I think everyone does a really good job. Like,
I think I want to say that this is a very perfectly cast movie. Because I mean, I loved Oscar Isaac as Duke Leto, and Skarsgård as the Baron is amazing. He did it so well.
The Baron is one of my problems too. I think I thought he was kind of goofy, and I think first of all, he's much better done in this one than he is in 1984. Because in 1984 you can't take him seriously at all, because he's like there's a scene where he's like flying around and spinning and doing like all over around the room. But in this one, I don't know, there are parts that kind of made me giggle, and I don't think they were supposed to, like the part where he gets poison in his face, right? And then they leave him in there for days or whatever, right?
No, that was like a couple of minutes.
And then, or what if I thought a whole night had passed until they cut to, they show you where he is, and he's just like hanging on the ceiling, like upside down, like a spider or something.
So it's that was just that was added for the movie. In the book, that he's right there up on the Duke Leto whenever he like sends out the gas. It's just in the book that it's said that the bearer just got out of the room in time. That's all that said. There's no he had a shield, then he was hiding up in a corner. It's just he yeeted out fast enough.
Really? So he just like there's no, so basically I guess maybe they did that to give, well, because in the 1984 version, you know how he has like those cysts on his face, right, Troy?
Yeah.
So I thought that they were going to give him those once the gas thing happened. But
I think that they were trying to I think 21, they were trying to say something about humanity and how you lose it when you partake in this gluttony, and when you lose it when you invest in this world. Kind of like Blade Runner, honestly, but I think that's kind of the vibe they're going for, and the book is interested in that, but less invested.
Do you guys know what's with the floating thing? Is he in a chair?
It's like it's in his spine or whatever. It's a piece of tech that just makes him float because of how big and massive he is and just how fat he is. He in the book, I don't know how much they say, he weighs like hundreds and hundreds of pounds, to where if he tried to walk, it would like break his legs.
So is that because of the spice, or is that just because he's a rich fat guy?
Just
he's a rich fat guy and he's evil.
Okay.
He's the richest guy in.
Well, he's not the emperor.
He's not the emperor.
He's not the emperor, but he is as wealthy, because it's like it's a thing, because
it's complicated.
It's complicated.
I don't know. Maybe this might just be me being dumb, but I thought the Baron was the emperor. I thought he was the head of the head, like the top of the.
The emperor. The way that they work it in the Dune universe is that you got a bunch of royal houses, and the emperor and like all the royal houses have worlds or whatever that they maintain. That's why the Atreides like they have generations on Caladan. And the Harkonnens had Arrakis for 80 years. The Emperor has the most, more or less, planets, and with more planets comes more power and more control. So whoever has the more power and control is the Emperor. But you can have other families that are richer,
like kings of sectors, but not.
That are financially richer and more set up than the emperor,
but less power.
So the emperor just owns a bunch of planets, essentially. That's kind of his thing.
And that's why like the Atreides have the best like military in the galaxy, but the emperor has the Sardaukar, which are the besides the Fremen, the like best soldiers in the galaxy.
Anyways, it's made me interested in, but I don't know if I want to read it because it's like 40 million pages long. You said that Dune 1 is one.
No, it's only like 600 pages.
Dune 1 is the longest.
Okay, got you. Is it like short books and then he has them all just bunched together as like Dune?
No, so the books, like book 1, I said earlier, there's 3 books, which are just acts.
Yeah.
Okay, got you. So it's interesting they decided to do like halves then, instead of like each book just being one of a trilogy.
Well, the third act is real short.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and for like the movie, he did book, like in the first Dune book, for 2021, he did book 1 and then like half of book 2, and then that was it.
Without giving the Jessica plot twist, which he may have cut. I don't. Yeah. Like maybe they'll bring that out in the second one, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, because that's not in 1984. They don't outwardly say that she's his daughter. They're just like he's the chosen one, basically. At least as far as I could tell. I might have missed something, but I'm pretty sure I would have noticed that.
Right. Herbert was trying to say something about religion. Mm-hmm. I think he has very like a much more atheistic approach. He thinks that religion is something that people make for themselves to interpret the world. And so there's a lot of details into why Paul can do all these things. That has nothing to do with anyone's religious beliefs, but they do create religions around him.
Oh, okay.
So
that's kind of actually really interesting. I don't think they're going to go that. I don't know if they'll go that way. But you know, it does talking about this and like getting deep into the lore and knowing nothing about it almost makes me really excited to see the second half.
Yes, like I said, if you read Dune and you like the book, you're excited for this second part. If it happens, you want it to happen.
Well, and that's even then, like the movie sets up things, like it shows you things in this movie that I was seeing and going, I'm really excited to see that. Mm-hmm. Like the battle scene, basically, where it's like half a second, or like it's like maybe a minute of footage, and Timothy Chalamet runs through and just like fucks up a bunch of dudes. I was like, this looks like the end of a like huge ass story that I want to see, even though it was only like 50 guys on either side. I was watching that and I was like, I want to see that conclusion really bad. So if there was like a reason that I'd want to see a sequel, it's because I want to see the things that they clearly planted seeds for in this movie.
Can I read you the titles of the main 5 Dune books?
Yeah.
Are you going to go in order?
Yes, it's
Okay.
Dune, Dune Messiah, Children of Dune, God Emperor of Dune, and Heretics of Dune.
It's kind of following a theme.
That's the arc.
Does it all take place around Arrakis, or is it just Dune so you know that it's Dune?
From the first book onward, everything takes place on Arrakis. Yeah.
Wow, really? So there's no planet hopping at all?
I mean, there might be a
Right.
chapter or two here. Now, there might be a chapter or two where it goes to a different planet, but
And it's
then it comes
terraformed
back.
eventually.
Oh, okay.
Because it covers thousands and thousands of years.
Okay, wow, interesting. And Paul lives thousands and thousands of years, or is it not really his
No.
story by the end?
By the end, it's not his story. It follows his bloodline. He's only the hero of the first one, and then hero of Dune Messiah, which people hated. And a part of it is that the first book in its entirety is very much a hero's journey. And then Dune Messiah covers a lot of the consequences of being perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, Children of Dune is about Leto, which is Paul's kid, who's kind of evil. Like,
yeah. So you're saying, what you're basically saying to me is, was this the first half of the first novel, right?
Yes.
So we basically won't know, we won't see like the conflicts of being the Messiah until after this movie, like the second part is ended.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you feel about that? And do you think that
that's
they're
what
even
I'm
going to
saying.
do it? Like,
because like, what's the risk? Okay, so here's what has to happen in order for me to like then jump on board.
Mhm.
Paul has to make decisions where I think they need to tell us immediately that he just can see the future, right? And like, because it wasn't clear to me that that's what was happening. I knew he was seeing futures,
visions.
but I was like, oh, there's something going on where he's seeing visions. It's not necessarily that he can see the future. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like he sees probable outcomes, but I wasn't. I thought it was just he's getting visions of the future. Like when they were showing Zendaya stabbing him, when I walked out of the movie, part of me was thinking, oh, that's going to happen eventually. Like he's going to get stabbed. And that was the importance of the dagger. And I was like, this is going to be the dagger that stabs him. And then he's going to be saved eventually. Like that's what I thought was happening. But now what you're telling me is, no, he was seeing a possible outcome of that. So if they're
it would be like watching a playthrough of Skyrim without any like save states.
Yeah.
You just see like all the right choices.
Yeah, exactly. like it's essentially for me, for the second movie to be a little more interesting, I'm gonna need Paul to make choices where if he makes the choice, it's a sacrifice for him. Like he's like, okay, I can save Zendaya's character, but it's gonna kill my mom. Or okay, vice versa. Like I need him to know the future. I want them to tell us that he knows that, and then us to realize at the end or towards the end of the movie, there has to be some sort of sacrifice or something that he has to give up because of his power. Like he's like, this is going to be better for everybody else, but I lose something of great value. Does that make sense? And I have to be attached to that thing of great value because knowing that he's going to win every battle, or at least knows how to win every battle, makes the tension of the film almost mute. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because is that a reveal in the book, or clearly it is. Clearly, it is a reveal in the book.
It's something that he discovers slowly but surely, but is kind of given. Like that's why the Reverend Mother's like, "Can you see the future? Like, can you see what's going to happen?" And he's like, "Sometimes."
Yeah.
Meaning he didn't know for sure. He's like, "Sometimes I die, and that doesn't happen because I did something else." Because he can't just see the future; he can see all the futures.
Okay. Interesting.
Here's what can I share my. I feel like they made a mistake. I feel like there was an easy fix to all of this that would have made it an easier movie to make. is if it was all from Jessica's perspective.
You want the movie so bad to be from someone else's point of view than Paul.
Because
no, he's got a point.
Jesus Christ Superstar is an interesting musical because it's not from Jesus's perspective.
Yeah.
Like, you want the pivotal character of the universe to be on the side. But seeing the world through Jessica, not being able to see his visions, but able to see like, oh, how does he know that? I didn't know he could fight like that. Yeah. I didn't know he knew how to use that item. If you got all of that from Jessica's perspective and see her watch her son turn into something unwieldy and more powerful than she ever could have imagined, I think that's more interesting.
And it's an instant relation too, because that's exactly how I felt watching the movie. Is like, how is he?
Right.
Yeah, like if Jessica, if we were being told,
how is he making all these right decisions?
Yeah, it would be like, what? Like, we would feel the same way, like, because she doesn't even blink. Like, she looks. Here's what she looks like, because we're seeing it from Paul's point of view. So the only way that I understood her like worry was through the lens of a mom. Like, I was like, she's just worried about her kid. Not really necessarily like confused as to how he knows how to do this. And that would be, I feel like I'm kind of starting to agree with you, Troy. The movie should be told from anyone else's perspective other than Paul's. Like, I'd prefer to see how Josh Brolin's reacting to Paul being a god than like, you're right. Cause you're right. Because it just makes relating to him and trying to feel the tension through him so much harder if we know he's seeing how to. Part of me kind of was like, wishes that y'all hadn't told me that, because now going into the second one, I'm just gonna be like,
I won't spoil it. He does make a bad choice in the second one, a choice that will affect the whole arc of the book series, and it's related to Zendaya. Okay. Like, she's a central character, and it's what sets up Paul for like his family and the world that happens. I'm hoping, because they hired Zendaya, that's going to be what the movie's about.
I think that's really compelling to me. Like, that's a reason for me to jump back in and be like, I'm totally on board. And I do think they played her not existence. They played her very well, because she's not in a lot of the movie, but I think that the scenes that she's in kind of, that you feel it. Like, you feel, how you can feel like when a romance is likely there, or when they're telling you it's there, but it's not there at all. I feel like there is a little bit of, maybe it was just because we're seeing it through Paul's lens. There's some odd tension there.
I thought the visions were effective in some sense, especially if you already knew that he can see the future. Like, from my perspective, I thought they did a good job of showing him lose the knife fight a few times.
Yeah.
While he's like meditating, and he's like, oh, okay, I'm going to kill this guy. Like, I know everything he's about to do. And he can see, like, when I meet this girl, she could stab me. When I meet this girl, we could go have this thing. Or my mom, is she going to have a baby? Like, what's all those dots on her face? Yeah. I like that from my point of view, like, he can see the future, but he doesn't know how to interpret it. I think that's an interesting narrative device that they're trying.
Yeah. And I do think, I think the reveal of that is probably gonna, I don't know if they're gonna, do they reveal that in the Dune 1? That he can see the possible futures, or is it not really?
No, because it's in his head. So he's like, I don't know what Kirby thinks, but from my understanding, he kind of guesses that's the case. Okay. Once he starts doing stuff, it's not like a big.
Okay, I think as an audience member, it was who doesn't understand that. I think I didn't understand that. It's like, I think they need to make that clear in the second one. They don't need to, like, they need Paul to be like say outwardly, I'm seeing the future, like probable futures, because to me it just looked like he was having visions. And I was like, okay, well, he's having these visions. Are they just like odd dreams? I never once thought it was probable outcomes and he's like picking his like perfect path, right? And I think that does need some gravitas, because it'll help us understand. Like, it makes me want to go back and watch it again and be like, oh, now I get it, that he's like seeing possibilities rather than just like weird visions. but that makes a lot of sense. What would you, Kirby? What would you say if you had to walk away from one? I know Troy said it was is it called? I want to say Sandcrawler, but that's definitely not what it's called. The spice extractor machine scene.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called. Yeah,
Yeah.
But that thing, I thought that was a great scene.
Yeah, I thought that was really good too. But what if Kirby, if you had to say you walk away from one scene in the movie or part of the movie, thinking about what do you think it would be?
I don't think it's a certain scene of the movie. I want to say it's it's the amount of detail that they pulled from the book, because I mean there are several things where, I mean if you read the book you'll be like, oh hey yeah they did that, they did this. Like there was one line where Paul tells Gurney, hey, why don't you play a tune? Because in the book he sings in like ad-lib songs and everything. And I wouldn't say that it's just the level of detail that they put into it from the book. Yeah.
So just like specificity.
Yeah. I'd say so.
Okay, interesting. I think if I had a favorite, I would say I really enjoyed the hand scene, like where he puts the hand in the box, even though I don't quite understand. Is it all in his head?
No.
Yeah. Or no?
Well, no. It's
like a nerve thing.
It is. It isn't. It's there's no like physical thing happening to his hand. It's like nerve manipulation.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I get.
So that scene, I was like, I saw it in the 1984 version, and they do like this weird CG thing, and I was like, I don't really want to see inside the box. Like I understand the concept without seeing you like burn his hand, like you know what I'm saying. But in this one, when he, Timothy does a great job, by the way, even though I just like ratted on him for being a Mary Sue. But I'm saying when I was watching that scene and the part where he like basically syncs up and like is like fuck you and just takes it on the chin, that scene's incredible. Like when he looks at her and he's just like fucking taking, there's like one tear rolling down his eye. It's like the scene in Glory where, I mean, that's a terrible movie to bring up, but you know what I'm talking about, where Denzel's like getting whipped and looking at it.
Yeah.
Like, that's horrible to bring up. But you know what I'm saying, where he's like just taking the pain and like looking at him with like a strong, like sturdy face. I love that a lot. And I didn't quite, what is that test? What was that?
It's so I mean, so in the book that's the first that's like the first chapter in the book. That's your first entry into Dune. So like everything before that was added for movie's sake. But from what I understood of it, it was the Reverend Mother trying to make sure that he's strong enough, more or less, that he's not gonna, that he doesn't. What am I trying to say?
Fit to be a leader, essentially, or is it more? Is it
kind
more?
of. So it's the Ben Gesserit. They've got like a secret goal of trying to create this certain being, someone.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a test to see if they were still on track for it. And if he would have pulled his hand out, that would have been a sign saying no, they failed with this person, and then they were gonna kill him if he pulled his hand out.
They were gonna kill Paul if he failed that.
Yeah, that's what
that was the pin.
That was the pin with the poison.
Okay, see, that explains the mom, because I was like, okay, the mom's just really excited for him to be.
No, she's freaking out. She's thinking.
Oh, that was the poison. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I knew that. I don't know why I'm asking. That was a stupid ass question. I understood that if he pulled it out, she was gonna poison him. I didn't know. I don't know what I was saying with that.
So a part of it also is that they use it for their own kind. They use it for all of the women who have the ability to read other women's minds. Sometimes men. I'm not totally sure on all the lore of the Ben Gesserit. And it, like Kirby said, it tests your humanity over your instincts.
Yes,
with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
If you're not strong enough to keep your hand in the box because you know that nothing's going to happen to you, then you don't deserve to have this power, and you need it.
Okay, I see. I feel that.
And the Reverend Mother said an example. It's the like a wolf or an animal. If they feel pain and they can't get out, they'll chew off their own leg type thing.
Gotcha.
And that's what they were trying to figure out. What was like a human, they'll stay on the trap, they'll endure the pain, but like a regular animal, they'll try to get away from it as much as they can.
Got you. Okay, that makes sense. Troy, you said your favorite was the scene with I keep wanting to call it the mining scene.
Yeah, the first worm scene.
Yeah, was that purely for the reveal of the worm, or do you think it was for like a narrative or character purpose? Was it just?
I thought it was just a perfect piece of photography and cinematography.
It is very well shot.
It shows the entire movie. The movie's really well.
I'm also a sucker for like dudes that are too good of people and they gotta die because of it. Like I just am such a sucker when he's like damn the spice, we gotta get all those people out of there. And she's like
wow,
cares about the Fremen. Like it's just so satisfying, and you know that like that guy's got to go. Like
yeah. No,
I
really that's when I started getting behind like Oscar Isaac, because he's flying over and they're like, oh sir, well the spice is still on the board. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You get on the ship. Like what the fuck is wrong with you? No,
I also like Kirby said, the details. Like the tech is so cool. The shields that they have that like, and they like take small hits, but if that needle gets there, it slowly but surely breaks through.
Yeah.
Like I totally buy it. I buy that that's a thing that exists and everyone wears it, but it's not perfect.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
I like if a big blunt object comes at you, you're fine. But if like if something precise and is and it's got enough power behind it, it will go through the shield.
See, I thought was it not speed based? Because I thought Josh Brolin said something about like the shield, if it's like slow, if it's a slow hit.
The slower the better. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
But precision is also important, because you can't like if you do the flat side, that's not going to get through. Right?
And I do love the scene when Oscar Isaac is about to get the Duke is about to get hit, right? And it's like on the one part of his back he can't reach. So he's just like trying to grab the fucking injection and he can't quite.
So I'm glad they added that little bit, because in the book it's just he finds the I can't remember that character's name. That he finds the Fremen, and then all of a sudden he just feels a little prick on his arm or whatever, and he starts going out. Like I like the struggle where he sees, oh crap, you see the fear in his face.
It also made it all the more tragic too, because I was like, oh man, like it's just a slow death for like a character you kind of cared about or like wanted to see more of. Is it gonna with the point? Oh, go ahead, Troy. What are you gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna say that I love the Doctor. I love it. I just love every scene. I thought she won the movie for me. She just had the best lines. She was like, you're talking about Kynes?
Yes,
Kynes. She's like, I am of the desert.
Yeah,
and I love that when she spoilers, when she's stabbed, because it's PG-13, they couldn't have blood, so it's the water from the suit.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah,
that shoots out. It was just so good.
Yeah.
So for all right. So when I read Dune, the little bit that I have, like Frank Herbert's writing style, it's not the best in my opinion, and I completely thought in the book Kynes was a guy. I did not get that Kynes was a lady.
He might be. They might have changed it. They might have just changed it.
Maybe, but like I thought he was a dude.
It's a guy in the original book.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It is. Yeah, they might have just changed it because it's probably not relevant.
But the actress they hired, she killed it. It was just like Lord of the Rings level. Just, her faces were so good. It was so rad. I was when she puts on her suit.
When she's banging on when she's like dying and she's like do, and you just know this big ass worm's like she's do. Like,
it's so good. Like I'm kind of sad that's the last we'll get of her.
And the worm eats her and she's like,
Yeah.
I have become one with the desert.
I'm kind of curious after they finish this, when they make the second one, if they're gonna continue with the books, or this is it.
Yeah,
I hope they go all the way. I hope they make 2 movies based on Dune. They make 1 movie based on Dune Messiah, and then 1 for each of the others, and it just gets really dark and really weird.
Mm-hmm.
And Timothée Chalamet is just like older, like an older actor. I really want them to just go all the way.
Wait, gotcha.
I mean, I would be. That's a way to flip me to being like, I'm like moderately interested now. If they commit to a sequel, I'll be on board. Like I'll be like,
will you read the book?
I don't know if I'll read the book until after I see the sequel, because if the sequel's ass and I've read the book, I'm gonna be like, come on, bro. Like, what is you know what I'm saying? I like a lot of times with movies that have books, unless I've already read the book, I like to watch the movie first, because a lot of times the book is in your own vision. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So like whatever you idolize or see is instantly going to be better than what you go watch in the theater. So I like to see the movie first and then go and see the book, or then read the book, if that makes sense. So it depends on whether or not part 2 is good, whether or not I'll read it. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. But I am moderately interested. If they greenlit it, I'll be totally on board, because I do want to see, like, I want to see that shit happen. That like Troy just said, that sounds fucking badass. Like where he has evil children. Like that sounds so interesting. And they all have the same power as him. So I was just thinking, like, while y'all were talking, I was just part of my brain was thinking, like, how would those 2 fight each other? Because like, if you know all the outcomes, both of you know all the outcomes. Is it like Sherlock and what's Sherlock's
Moriarty?
Yeah, Moriarty, where they're both like, well, we predicted this situation, unless one of us doesn't something expect. I don't know.
There are more stories in that era that I don't know, because his son wrote a lot of books that took place after and during the series, because it jumps like 14 years after Dune is Dune Messiah, and then Children of Dune is like 1,000 years later.
Wow. And
then his son wrote the books that I've not done the research on about all the time in between. So it'd be cool if they dug into that. I'm all for more Dune. Like, just give me all the Dune, make it weird.
Watch them do it like Star Wars, where they make the original Dune, like all the original Dunes with like the original author, and then they do like these anthology movies, like filling in the gaps.
Okay, here's what I think. Dune 2 should be directed by Rian Johnson. God. And he writes an original script.
and makes everyone's favorite character, Duncan, a piece of shit in Dune 2. Look.
And he tries to make a weird love interest with Jessica,
fan making Luke jokes. Oh Lord.
He wrote Rian Johnson. Okay, I know this isn't what the show's about, but Rian Johnson wrote the best screenplay of the 2010s and the worst screenplay of the 2010s.
I utterly disagree with you on every level.
No. He comes out with The Last Jedi, then he makes a masterpiece of Knives Out.
That's what I mean. The Knives Out, as far as I'm concerned, is like one of the best screenplays
it is fantastic.
of the decade.
It is really good. I think it won. No, I think maybe it did. I don't know.
Did it win? It was nominated.
I think it was nominated for sure. But yeah, what's wrong with me tonight? Troy, where can people reach out and find you on social media?
Oh yeah, you can find me on Instagram at ntfreeman. You cannot find me on Twitter because I'm not really on Twitter right now. I have a blog called Seria Buffa, SERIABUFFA. I have all my journalism stuff from when I was in my undergrad and college there. And yeah, that's where you can reach out. Also, I have a letterboxd, also in T Freeman, and you can see how I've rated every movie that I've ever seen in my life.
Your blog is actually like dope. You sent it to me the other day. I was like, and I didn't look at it because I thought it was in our group chat, and I was like, and tonight, like right before the show, I texted you, you saw, but I was like, holy shit, this is like a portfolio almost. I was like, wow, this is really impressive. It was really cool. Kirby, where can people reach out and find you on?
Again,
so you can block them.
Probably block them because random ass people following me. Just Curbs McGurbs, Instagram, Twitter, wherever.
All right, and that will conclude our show, guys. If you enjoyed this, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps us out. We will be back in about 2 weeks to talk about Marvel Studios' new film, The Eternals, of course. Thank you guys so much for watching, and like I said, I'll see you next time.